Hello YouTube, this is Simon from GAMEZOMATIK and welcome back to the channel. And today I want to talk a little bit about first person shooters, or more specifically first person shooters on the PlayStation 1. I just wanted to go through some of my favourite kind of first person shooters that came out on the PS1. I bought a couple of PS1 games earlier today. Both of them shooters, and I'll tell you what they are in a minute as I go through them. And I've been trying to kind of reacquire a lot of my early PlayStation 1 collection, and while I was kind of sorting these games out, I noticed how many good kind of first person shooters came out on the PlayStation 1. And really console wise, I know there was a couple on the Genesis, Mega Drive, you know, a couple of sort of first-person based games on the earliest sort of 16-bit systems, but I think the first-person shooter really came into its own on the PS1 and around that era, and I think there's probably more of them on the PlayStation 1, certainly around that time, than there was on any other console. And yeah, I was going through the collection today and just putting some of these games away and realised how many really solid, good kind of first-person shooter games, being a fan of the first-person shooter, that there were on the system. So I thought what I'd do is come on and go through some of my favourite PlayStation 1 FPSs that came out. Yeah, so there's two reasons for this video really. I just want to share some of my gaming thoughts and memories on these games that I've got. And then for anyone out there who, you know, there's a couple of titles here that are, you know, probably slightly lesser known than maybe some of the other titles. And so anyone who hasn't sort of come across these other games might be interested. So the first one I'm going to go for is the most obvious one, and that is Doom. Really solid. Oh, excuse me. This is a really solid port of Doom. Yeah, the first time I played Doom was way back in, God, it must have been the early 90s, about 93, 94. I remember being at a party. I've gone to a party. I must have only been about 20 at the time. And some guy had a PC set up. Well, they had a couple of PCs set up, and he had the Doom playing like on a LAN, you know, like a LAN party thing. And yeah, I kind of went to this party, and normally you go to like a house party and there's people crowded around having drinking, talking. Except everyone was in this back room crowded around these two screens. I'm watching these two guys playing Doom and just being totally, you know, blown away by it at the time, thinking, oh my god, that looks amazing. And then later on, when I got a PC, many years later, whenever that was, sort of the mid 90s, I kind of got my first real PC, got into PC gaming. That was kind of mid to late 90s, 95, 96. That's when I played Doom on the PC for the first time. But when the PlayStation came out, I noticed that it come out again on the PlayStation 1, so I bought this, kind of another copy of it. And this is a really good port of it. So, you know, there's probably no one on the planet who hasn't played Doom. But if you do want a console version of Doom, you could do a lot far worse than this. I know it came out on the N64 as well, and some other console. I'm pretty sure it probably came out on loads of different consoles. But yeah, if you're a PS1 collector, don't be put off by this version of Doom, because it's pretty faithful to the original. And there's also Final Doom as well, which I haven't actually got a copy of. Another pretty decent PC port that came out on the PlayStation 1. Another game, again, I played back on the PC back in the day when it came out. Duke Nukem. Another really good port. God, I can't remember the first time I played Duke Nukem. This isn't my favourite Duke Nukem game though. I actually prefer the other one, the third person ones that came out on the PlayStation. I know everyone sort of prefers these the first person original Duke Nukem 3D and all that, and they're great, but I like all the Duke Nukem games. I even liked the Duke Nukem Forever game that came out that got absolutely slated, but I did prefer Land of the Babes and what was the one, something time. Oh, that's really gonna bother me now. I'm just looking there to see if I can find it. Oh, what's the name of it? I'm scanning my PS1 games because they're all up here. Typically I can't see it now. Time to Kill, that's it. Duke Nukem Time to Kill. So yeah, I actually prefer Time to Kill and Land of the Babes to this one, but it's just personal preference. The different types of games anyway, but still a really solid first person shooter and a good port. Now the next game again is a PC game that I played originally. I remember before I got my PC many years ago, my dad bought and built his first PC, and I'm pretty sure he built it just for this game at the time, because I remember going around to see it, and it was around the time when graphics cards were just like coming into the, graphics cards were just coming out for the PC, and I kind of went around to see the difference. My dad had played it without the graphics card, and he put the graphics card in and put it on again, and I remember us both stood there just being totally blown away by the graphics on this game. But this is the PlayStation port of this game, and that is Quake 2, and this is a brilliant game. Now this is not like the PC version, and I'm not going to kind of try and pull the wool over anyone's eyes and try and convince them that it is, because it's not. This is definitely a much scaled down version of Quake 2, but it's still a fantastic game. It's got all the same elements. The controls take a lot of getting used to on this version, I will say that. It's only got about 3 or 4 control sets on it, and none of them are really great, and they're certainly not set out like modern controller, like the modern controller setup. So I think you've got to use the right stick to strafe, and then the left stick moves forwards and back and then turns, so that takes a little bit of getting used to. But the fact that they managed to port this to a 32-bit system at all is amazing. And you know what? It's not bad. It's pretty good. For what, again, it's probably not fair to compare this to the PC version, but it's a fantastic game in its own right. And even if this wasn't Quake 2 on the box, and you just picked this game up, went home and played it as a PlayStation game, as a shooter in its own right, forget the Quake name, you'd think it was a fantastic game. So anyone who sort of stands there going, oh, it's just a crap version of Quake 2, they're kind of not getting it. It's still an excellent first person shooter, in my opinion, and definitely if you're a fan of first person shooters, or it's another one you should definitely get for the PlayStation. Some bit more of an obscure one now. This is one that I didn't know anything about, and I found it, I think many years ago. I just went out to buy a game, and I went to buy one game. I think I'd gone out to buy, what was it? I can't remember what game. I've gone out to buy one game, and I didn't have it. They sold out, and at the time, I just wanted a game, so I ended up buying another game, and I bought this because I looked at the back of it and I just saw it was a first person shooter. This came out pretty early on in the PlayStation's life cycle, so you can't even use analog controller with it, but that is Kill the Blood. Again, another really solid kind of corridor based third person shooter, like a Doom clone, but with a bit of a twist on it. It's sort of science fiction. You kind of play this guy here, or this, I don't know if you're a robot or a guy in a suit, and you're going kind of like what looks like a space station, I suppose, or a space station type of environment thing. Do you know what? I never really understood the story or anything to it. I just remember it being a really good shooter. The only thing I will say about this game is a lot of the levels look very samey in it. I remember playing the first couple of hours in it and thinking, oh yeah, this is really good, and then sort of 2 hours into it thinking, yeah, this is still really good, but the levels still look exactly the same as the levels did in level 1. Sort of the textures and, you know, the not so much the layout, but definitely the textures and the colour palettes and everything in it. So, but it's still a really solid shooter. And, you know, I like these old shooters, especially some of these really early ones that you can't use the analog sticks with. The controls are infuriating on them, but then that's part of the joy, that's part of the challenge to the games. So, another one, Life Force Tenka. This is tough, this game. Again, this is a game I think I originally played back on PC back in the day, and then as I got into, you know, because I was a massive PlayStation fan when that came out, the PlayStation, and I saw it being released on PlayStation, I bought it again. Another really this is made by Psygnosis, who've made loads and loads of other really good games. They made is it G-Police and games like that, I think. So yeah, another kind of futuristic kind of science fiction. You play this guy and, you know, you're shooting lots of robots and things like that. But another really solid first person shooter. This one as well, it's I only found this today in a shop. This is one of the games I've been watching on eBay for about 2 years, and it seems to hold its price a bit. It always seems to stay around the £20 mark, and £20 to £25, $30 mark, and it's not really that. I never really wanted to spend that much on it, and then I actually went into a shop today and found it for, you know, considerably less. So picked that up. Looking forward to playing that again because I haven't played it for years and years. Another one I picked up, I've just had a lucky day today because I picked that up and right next to it was another shooter that I've been after for years, and I did play this one back in the day, and this is the one that's on behind me here. Graphics in this really good, really solid shooter. It is a Doom clone. People go, oh yeah, it's a Doom clone, but it's one of the best ones. Loads of variety in the environments. You know, you kind of start off on like a space sort of station thing, and then you end up on alien planets, and then you go somewhere else and there's like a robot army attacking you. Loads of variety in it. Really, really nice graphics for the PlayStation 1 as well. Pretty good controls actually. I was playing this through... Oh, it's Disruptor, by the way. I was playing this through the PS3 to capture the footage for this video, and the controls were very laggy on it, and I was slightly worried about it, and then I put it on the original hardware, the PS1. It plays lovely, you know, really smooth. And I've noticed that on the PlayStation 3. I don't know if it's because of the television I'm playing it on or what it is, but I find the controls can be very laggy playing through the PS3, whereas if I play it all through the original hardware, especially shooters, they always seem to play a lot better. But this is a fantastic game, and not one that I see out in the wild a lot. So when I went out today and kind of saw both of these in one shop, and it was just like a cash converter, you know, it wasn't even or was it CX, you know, it wasn't even anywhere like a specialised game shop. And you know, this is, you know, really good condition, you know, it's complete and everything. But Disruptor's a fantastic first person shooter. I highly recommend this one. This is a really, really good one. Next up, two of my favourite games, not just first person shooters, and I always rave about this series. People must get sick of me talking about it. But these two games, to me, this is what started it. A lot of people say Doom started it, but this is definitely what started World War II shooters. And that is Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground. Again, you know, no self-respecting PlayStation 1 owner would not have these in their collection. This game, the first time I played this game, this is one of the only games I've ever played where I finished it and I just started it straight again. The minute I'd finished it, got to the end. I remember being quite upset when I finished it because I'd finished it and I just wanted it to keep going on and going on. It was so good. And I'll tell you something else, it totally nailed the controls. The controls on this are brilliant, and same with Underground as well. Really, that thing where it just, you know, this is the first sort of first person game that kind of had, that I played on a console that had this pretty much the same controls as what most every other first person shooter uses these days, and this was the one that kind of started that. But I just loved it. I love anything related to World War II anyway, and this just had everything. It just did the variety of levels, the guns, the sounds that came out when you shot the guns, the tension. You know, I love that. There's a level right at the beginning where you're kind of going through these you know, you're kind of going through the roads near, is it Paris or wherever it is in, no, the second one's in France, but there's all bushes and you're trying to avoid the Germans, and then there's a later one in where you're going to a submarine and everything. It's just a fantastic game, and this one is just a fantastic follow-up to it. You play the girl in this one, she's like a resistance, like French resistance. And again, fantastic controls and just a fantastic game. Beautiful graphics. Even now, I've been playing this recently. This one, again, I've been playing quite a few of the Medal of Honor games recently, replaying them, and this just holds up so well. You know, I preferred Medal of Honor to Call of Duty. I always did. I just thought it was a better series, and hopefully with Call of Duty World War II, is it coming out soon? You know, the old dollar signs might light up in back at EA, and they might decide to reboot the old Medal of Honor series. But if they do, you know what? Don't do a whole new game. Just remake this with really nice graphics. I'd be happy with that. I really would. Brilliant games. Stick with another series, although this is two games based on the same film franchise, but totally different games. This one's a classic, everyone knows this game. I gotta have this in your PS1 collection. Alien Trilogy. Oh my god, it took me, I think it must have taken me 7 or 8 months to finish this game. This game is rock hard. Maybe I'm just really bad at gaming, but I remember playing this and just getting my, you know, it starts off not too bad, you're like, yeah, it's okay, and then it just gets harder and harder and harder. Some of those later levels are the killers, they really are, but so addictive. It's one of those games that you just want to play it and play it and play it again. I think it's about 30, is it 30 levels or something? It's just got loads of levels, yeah, over 30 levels. Yeah, I just remember it going on and on and on for ages. But I just remember getting really hard really quick, this game. I played it quite a few times since. I don't think I've ever played it to the end again. It's one of those games I would dip back into and like play the first 15 levels and then give up again. But love it, Alien Trilogy. And this one, now this is a game that totally bombed and no one bought it, I don't think. And it's such an underrated game. Alien Resurrection, and I think the reason is the film. I remember at the time the film had come out and then the game was delayed, and if I remember rightly, the game didn't come out until like over a year after the film, by which time all the hype had gone, and I don't think the film was particularly well received, although I actually quite like Alien Resurrection. But this is one of the scariest, hardest games you'll ever play. This is more of a kind of horror kind of stroke first person shooter, because it's not just like a relentless Doom type clone where you're running and gunning through the corridors, getting, you know, shooting aliens in the face all the time. It's got really good pacing in it, this game. Really good pacing. So there's quite a few sections in the game where you won't see an alien for like 10-20 minutes, and then you'll get to a certain point in the game where you're getting attacked by loads of them. It's really hard in places as well. It's one of the best looking PS1 games, without a doubt, in my opinion. It's the thing that amazed me about this when I first got it was just how good it looked and what they could do with the PS1. This is kind of bordering on PS1 stroke PS2. This, I don't know when it was released, whether it was, I can't remember whether it was released sort of near the end of the PS1's life cycle or near the middle or whatever, but I remember looking at it thinking, they're pretty decent graphics, and them not really being that far removed from the PS2. Looking back at it in retrospect, the graphics on this, it almost looks like a PS2 game playing on a PS1. It really is a really nice looking game, really clever use of graphics. It's really cheap to buy as well. You can get it on eBay for like $10 or about £10, $15 or something. It's not hard to get hold of. So another one, more of a Doom clone again, another game that definitely should be in your collection. This is another PC port, and this is Hexton, and I like this one because it does it all a little bit differently. Rather than, it's kind of Doom but in a fantasy setting. So rather than having guns and going around blowing people's arms and legs off with shotguns and all kinds of things, you're kind of a wizardy kind of sorcerer type person in this, and you've got spells and staffs and swords and things like that. And this is tough. Again, this is tough. I didn't play this back on PC back in the day. It's not a game I actually played a long time ago when it first came out on the PC. Some of these are games I played on the PC, then they were ported to PlayStation. This is one I originally did play on the PlayStation. I've never actually played the PC version. There was a sequel to Hexton that came out on the PC, and if I remember rightly, it was in third person view. It wasn't a first person game, it was a third person game. But yeah, it's a really, really solid. It is a shooter, because it's basically it's Doom. It's just Doom, but in a fantasy setting. It's the same thing. Find the keys to the doors, potions, pickups, different weapons. It's just that they're not guns. So yeah, Hexton. And finally, in the short video, love this game. I think I've spoken about this game before. This is another game that should definitely be on everybody's list of PlayStation 1 shooters, and that is Exhumed. Now in the US I believe this was called Power Slave, but in UK or Europe it was called Exhumed. It's a fantastic game. It's a really weird game. You're kind of this soldier guy that gets dropped into ancient Egypt, so you're kind of running around ancient Egypt with like with like an automatic rifle and a gun and all these kind of modern guns, but you run around ancient Egypt, and then there's all these kind of scorpions attacking different monsters and ghosts and all that. But it's really good, really tough in places, but it's got really good controls. Graphically it's fantastic, really captures the setting, and it's a long game too. It's well worth the money. I remember buying this back in the day. This came out, I remember, on PC as well, and it also came out on the Sega Saturn. So it looks a little bit differently on the Sega Saturn. The colours look a bit different and everything. But this is what I bought it on originally, and yeah, this is a game I definitely bought back in the day at the time. I remember going in HMV. I think I lived in Manchester at the time. I went at HMV and bought this. Didn't know that much about it. I think I'd read a couple of previews on it and the old official PlayStation mag, and I liked the graphics, and I thought it looked really good at the time, and I wasn't disappointed. It's a fantastic game. So yeah, I just wanted to go through some of my favourite PlayStation 1 kind of first person shooters. Like I said, I was just kind of doing a bit of sorting out today, and I've never really realised before how many good FPSs there were on the PS1. And none of those games are particularly hard to get hold of or particularly expensive, so they're all really good games if you just want to kind of pad out, you know, your PS1 collection and you fancy something a bit different, even if you're not a massive first-person shooter fan, there'll definitely be something in there pretty much for everyone. Anyway, just a quick video. I thought I'd come on and share my thoughts on the old PS1 FPSs with you, and some of my favourite ones. Thanks for watching the video, and I shall be back with another one soon. Take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you later. Goodbye.